Hey guys, this is Jocelyn from Fantasia Elegance. As promised, this tutorial is going to be showing you how to make this lovely snowflake pendant necklace. It's actually shaped from one long piece of wire and features some sparkling icy Swarovski crystals at the center. So before we jump in here, let me discuss the tools and materials we'll be needing. As always, I do have a full list in the description section below that tells what brands of tools I'm using as well as where I purchased my wires. Those always seem to be frequently asked questions, but I'll run through it briefly right here. For this, you'll be needing 22 gauge wire, dead soft. I'm going to be using a piece that is 17 inches long. I do always recommend the first time you're making a design starting out with some inexpensive wire and using a lot more than you think you'll need, just so you are sure to not run out at the end. So I would recommend starting with probably at least 20 inches just to be on the safe side, but you can make this with a 17-inch piece. You'll also want some 26 gauge wire, 24 would also work, again dead soft, and some 3mm Swarovski crystals. I got these from Rio Grande, so again 3mm, you'll need about 5 or 6 of these. And of course the usual tools, chain nose pliers, flush cutters, and round nose pliers. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I've done is to simply bend my piece of 22 gauge wire right in half, and I'm going to crimp the end here to make a nice tight U shape. And it does seem like most of my tutorials start out this way. I guess it's because I'm always trying to make something symmetrical. So at this point you want to go ahead and make a small space in between there with your nail so you can get your chain nose pliers in. And you want to grip one side of this probably about 1/4 of an inch down from where your bend is. And gripping firmly, you're going to make a sharp bend up at an angle like so. And do the same thing on the other wire at the same level. If I can get around the camera stand here. We're going to make a sharp upward bend. And what we've done here, just so you can kind of see where we're going with this, we've made the top part of the bottom arm, or bottom branch of our snowflake. And we're now going to do some of these secondary branches coming off. And you want these to be fairly short, so I'm gripping about 1/8 of an inch up from this bend right here. Let me zoom in a little bit perhaps. So gripping firmly there with my flush cutters, I'm going to once again bend the wire. This time I'm going to go all the way down and make another crimp. Just like so. Again, repeating this right on the other side here. So at this point you have something that looks a little bit like a toad's foot, really. And you can see we've made the top portion right there, just like that. So now you want to, making sure it's all squeezed tight together, we're just going to bend these tails straight down so that they're in a line with, excuse me, the long tail keeps getting in the way of the camera stand here, so that they're in a line with this top portion right here. Just like so. And let me just fix this up. It isn't looking quite snug to me somehow. So at this point I'm going to once again make a secondary branch really right below the one we just did. So I'm again bending this wire right up so that it's running parallel with this other little branch we made. And same thing as before, gripping about 1/8 of an inch up from the previous bend right here. I'm going to take this straight down and go ahead and crimp that. And doing the same thing on the other side. Gripping right below, bending this on up so that it's parallel. And taking it right on back for our U shape here. And go ahead and crimp that. Okay, and of course we want this to be more together. And flattened out. So you can kind of see now that we've done the spike and 2 sets of branches there. So I'm going to once again take these 2 tails straight down. Let me flip this over here. Once these tails get shorter, it'll be a little easier for me to avoid the camera stand. And right now I'm just tweaking these a little so that they're pointing up at the same, so that both rows of branches are pointing up at the same angles. So this is what we have. And our next step is to make 2 little loops, which will transition into more branches of the snowflake. So I'm going to take my round nose pliers, and I'm separating out the 2 tails ever so slightly here, and I'm going to start curving one of them up. And I'm leaving about 1/4 of an inch space between the bottom of the curve and where the branch starts here. I know it's hard for you to see really the scale on this. And I'm going to just go ahead and loop this all the way around. And you want these loops to be fairly small, really almost touching the lowest branch there. And again, since we're working with one long piece of wire, little changes you make here, such as making your loops slightly larger than mine, will make you run out of wire, which is why I recommend using more than you think you're going to need the first time you're making this. So there we have our little loops. Now what we have to do is bend these tails on up and continue making more of these sets of branches. Now it's going to be a little different because we're going to be working from the bottom up here. So let me pull out my one for you to reference. And we want to end up with 6 points. So the angle and spacing isn't really crucial right now. We can always adjust that later. Basically, you want this to be, you want the second set of branches to be coming out at less than a 90-degree angle. So what I'm doing right now, I'm setting the loop here as my point of reference, and I'm visualizing the distance from the bottom of the loop to the bend right here. And I want to recreate this distance on this side. So that's why I have bent the wire right here, preparing to make the lowest branch of the next set. So once I have made this distance the same as this one, I also want to, again, this bend right here is the same as this bend. So I want to make sure that I grip this distance about the same as this distance. So let me show you what I mean. And this pattern is a little complicated to explain. Hopefully you can get it just by watching what I'm doing as well. So what we're doing right now is making 1/2 of this branch. Actually, it'd be this half. And then we're going to come down the other side and do the other half. So now I'm going to bend up right here, and I need to bend it there because I'm making this branch the same length as this one right here, and same as before. I'm going to bend this on over and make another crimp for our second branch right here. Okay, and once again taking this tail right back up. I'm now going to guesstimate this distance for the top spike. And I'm making the spike a little taller than any of the arms. And crimping that again. So now we're just going to come down and do the mirror image of this side. Okay, and the way I like to do this, remember this is our bottom center one, so it would match up like this. So I like to alternate. If I do one on the right side of that center branch, I go ahead and do the one on the left side next. And you're going to repeat this until you have 2 branches on either side of this middle one. And then we will come back and finish up the final branch in preparation for making where the bail will attach.